All right, welcome to the second part of Module 2-3 Python Basics, and now we're going to review functions. This is one of the more important skills to learn in Python, in my opinion. So functions are incredibly important and incredibly useful, and they're just little code snippets essentially that will perform the same task over and over again. So you might not always need a function, but if you find yourself writing code and you're doing the same thing over again, you can just make a function and it can greatly simplify your coding task. So they're just an easy way to encapsulate a particular task and reuse that code to keep doing that same operation over and over again. So we'll look at a first example here of a function. So the syntax of a function is going to start with def, so define. So you're going to start each function with this. So define add numbers. That will be the name of the function. So the function name here is add numbers. And then you just have two numbers here, so x and y. And then much like some of the other code we've looked at, so we're going to have a colon here and then do something, whatever you want the function to do. So in this case, since it's add numbers, we want to return. And that we're going to use that return keyword, x plus y. Now, if we wanted to create a function that said subtract numbers, we would do x minus y. So now that we've defined this function, add numbers, all we have to do down here is call this function. Now we need to put the two numbers in the parentheses that we want to add. So in this case, 5 and 3, and it's just going to add that for us. So add numbers 5 and 3. We can do that with any of the numbers we want. So 100 and 300. So now that we've created that function, we can just keep using it. And now we can add numbers and 400 there. So you can keep using that add numbers function over and over again. You don't have to just keep writing this same code. So that's a simple example of a function. Now let's look at another example. It doesn't just have to be adding numbers or anything like that. So we're going to create this new function, and remember this def keyword to start. So this is going to be the greet patients function. Now we need to input a name here. So in these triple quotes, so this is not going to show up. This is just going to give you some information about what the function actually does. And so this is where you document my function does X, Y, and Z. So in this case, this function greets the patient by their name. So we're going to return, and we're going to use an F string here, hello name. So whatever name we put in here, thanks for signing in, we'll call you when your name is ready. So now that we've created that function, and we haven't actually called it yet, but if we greet this patient, so we use the greet patient function, let's say her name is Alice, we should get that nice message for Alice. So hello Alice, thanks for signing in. We'll call your name when ready. Now in this final example, we're going to use a BMI calculator. And so we're going to start the function with that keyword, def. Calculate BMI is going to be the name of the function. So we're going to need the patient's weight in kilograms, their height in meters, and then this is the BMI formula. So we're going to return their BMI, so weight divided by the height in meters squared. And so now that we have the BMI is going to equal, so excuse me here. So BMI, this variable, is going to equal the value of calculate BMI, which is the function. So we're going to call this function patient's weight and their height in meters. And so we're going to print the calculated BMI is, and we're just going to use 2 decimal spots for this. So that's what that's telling us. You don't need to know that now. But essentially, it's more the function that I want you to learn now. So using that function, now we've calculated the BMI, and it's 22.86. And so that would be the BMI, and you can just use this calculate BMI function over and over and over again for every patient you have. Now you would want to store it in a different variable, but that just shows you the power of a function, and that you just have to do this calculation once or write the code for that calculation once, and now you can just calculate the BMI for all the patients. Now, another important point about function are parameters and arguments. So functions take parameters, which are the values that the function needs to do the particular work. So the values are called arguments. So these are the parameters, weight in kilograms and height in meters, and the values are arguments. So in this case, 70 or 1.75. Typically, you're going to see functions that will have parameters and arguments, but they don't have to. We've been using them in all of our function examples thus far, but you can create a function without them. So just this example function here, no parameters or arguments, and example function is going to be extremely simple, and it's just going to return 1 plus 2, which is 3. So you would never really need to do this, but just to illustrate that you don't have to have parameters or arguments in your function. Great. So we made a function that just adds 1 and 2. So there you go. So functions, very important. I would recommend practicing with those. And the more you get familiar with those, the more you can use them, and it will greatly enhance your Python coding. All right, I'll see you in Module 2-4.